Hi everybody, this next topic is a little bit different because you already have all the skills that you need to solve the problems. So in this video, I'm just going to describe the assignment, and then for those of you who feel like you need more help, give you some additional resources. What we're going to be doing is setting up fraction word problems. We've already talked about fraction addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, examined different perspectives, and looked at how to represent them with visual representations. Now we're going to put all that together. This is kind of the beginning of the wrap-up for this unit, and you're going to have word problems that are mixed, meaning that I'm not going to tell you ahead of time if it's addition or multiplication or whatever. You just need to look at the problem and then figure out how to set it up. So often our students ask us, "Teacher, can you help me set this up?" And that's what this unit focuses on, building on the skills that you have to look at a problem and describe how you knew that this was 1/2 divided by 3/4 as opposed to something else. So in this video, I've just talked about the idea of what we're doing. I'm going to go over what the graded assignment is, show you some resources, and then I'll actually talk through the resources. So for those of you who feel good to go, I would suggest at this point, after the resources, stopping the video and jumping right in. And for those of you that need more help, you'll continue watching. So in UNM Learn this week, there is this last assignment, says Formative Learning Assignment, Analyzing Fraction Word Problems. It is a multiple choice assignment, and I had to set it up in Learn. The only way to get multiple choice is to do it as a test, but it's not contributing to your test grade. In the grade book, it's going to contribute to your to the same category that was used for the other formative learning assignments. And so when you open it, it has language about test, but just ignore that language. This is supposed to be an assignment to learn from, not as much to summative at the end test what you've done. So where it says this test can be saved and resumed later, this test allows multiple attempts, don't worry about the language test there. So what it is it's a multiple choice thing, except because I have a steep learning curve with technology, it's actually multiple answer. So I want to point that out too. Instead of choices A, B, C, D, it has these boxes. It allows you to check multiple boxes, but there's only one correct answer. So if you check multiple boxes, you'll automatically get it wrong. This is a list of 16 word problems that I took from the book, but every time you open the test, it randomizes the order, so it's not like all of the problems from 6.5 are grouped together. And you have to read the problem and decide how to solve it. So you don't actually have to solve it, but how would you solve it? There are 22 problems in the test bank, and every test that you open, or every formative learning assignment that you open, chooses 16 of them randomly. You can do this as many times as you want, and the gradebook will record the highest score that you get in the end. So even if your most recent attempt wasn't your best grade, that's okay. So in this, the only thing that it's grading is, did you get the answer right or wrong? If you get the answer right, when you look at the conclusion at the end, then it'll tell you why it was, for example, 3/4 divided by 1/2 or 1/2 times 3/4. If you got it wrong, it'll just say, oops, try again, so you can get some feedback at the end. So let's just randomly select some answers here and see here. So that one, I'll just glance at so I know that I get the right answer. Notice that some of the problems can't be solved by the numbers in this list. Some of them can be solved by another operation, and others are poorly written and they can't be solved as written. So some of these problems are quite difficult in that regard and are not what we would give our future students. They're testing your teacher ability to discern what's going on here and trying to troubleshoot a bit for next week when you'll be doing more writing your own problems. So you you can hit save and submit. I haven't finished it. That's okay. That one would be able to do this as many times as they want. And then I can hit OK, and it'll go through item by item and say, oh, I got this first answer right. And so it'll tell me all of the thinking behind that. The second question I got wrong, oops, try again. So you can keep trying this assignment. If this feels daunting, there's some other resources. One of the things that I would suggest is, so this is only giving you right or wrong answer. I would actually sketch out a picture, because that's how I would explain to a student how to solve this problem. So back in UNM Learn here, let's see if I can go back. There are these at the bottom here, optional practice activities that are some examples of how I would think through this and the kinds of ways I would suggest you thinking through this, even if you're not turning in and getting graded on that written work. So I'm going to flip over to that assignment now and show you what it is. And then for those of you who feel comfortable, I would turn off the video, but take a look at the resources that you have. So this is actually an exploration from a different textbook. You might recognize it from the book we used for Math for Teachers 1, and it has a list of 6 problems that are solved with a variety of different operations. And then I've gone through and looked at how I would set up a picture and how I would explain it. So if you need more help thinking about these, even though we've gone over all these topics, sometimes it's hard to put it together on your own. This would be a good resource. So for those of you who feel comfortable, skip ahead and do the formative learning assignment. For those of you that need a little more help, but on your own, open up the PDF of this document and look through it. And for those of you who want to hear me talk through these problems, then go ahead and keep listening. Okay, the first problem says the label on a bottle of juice says that 3/4 of the bottle consists of apple juice, 1/6 consists of cherry juice, and the rest is water. What fraction of the bottle is juice? The first thing I look at is, what wholes am I talking about? 3/4 of the bottle, 1/6 of the bottle. What fraction of the bottle? We have the same whole throughout the problem. That's a clue that it might be addition or subtraction, because that's a requirement for those problems. So if I were to draw a picture here, and my pictures don't need to be precise, this is just to figure out what operation to use. I drew a rectangle, because those are easy to work with, that represented the bottle. And then I just sketched in 3/4 is apple juice, 1/6 is cherry. Oh, I'm just going to combine these together, a combination problem, and add 2 problem. I'm going to add these fractions, and that'll give me the fraction of the total bottle. Next, number 2, Frida had 12 inches of wire and cut pieces that were 3/4 of an inch long. How many pieces does she have now? How many pieces should sound like how many groups. That might be a clue on this one. But let's draw a picture. Inches of wire feels like a number line situation. So I'm going to look at a double number line with inches of wire and pieces, and I can circle 3/4 of an inch. That's 1 piece. Another 3/4 of an inch. That's another piece. No need to keep going. You don't have to solve these problems, but I can in my head go, oh, that's like one of those measurement division problems. This is going to be 12 total inches divided by 3/4 of an inch per piece gives me the number of groups. So 12 divided by 3/4. All right, third problem. Jake had 12 cookies. He ate 3/4 of them. How many cookies did he eat? Let's look at our units. 12 cookies, 3/4 of them. So what do I have here? I have 3/4 of the cookies. 3/4 of the 12 cookies sounds like multiplication. So here's my 12 cookies, 1, 2, 3, 4, 12 cookies. And then I've labeled 3/4 of the 12, 3/4 of the 12 of, this is just going to be multiplication. I want to step back to something here, actually. In the second problem, you might have noticed units, 12 inches, 3/4 of an inch. We have inches, inches. That sounds like addition or subtraction. Remember, this can be repeated subtraction, but what we're doing is counting how many pieces. So we had a change of units right there, which tells us it's not just going to be a single subtraction problem. Okay, number 4. Kareem had 12 gallons of ice cream in the freezer for his party. Last night, Brad and Mary ate 3/4 of a gallon. How much ice cream is left? 12 gallons, 3/4 of a gallon. How much ice cream? That's going to be gallons of ice cream. So let's have a look at our picture here with all of our matching units. 12 gallons of ice cream, and they didn't eat 3/4 of the total. They ate 3/4 of 1 gallon. So I just need to subtract that off. I'm taking it away. It's a takeaway subtraction problem. And I have 12 gallons, 3/4 of a gallon, and then I could label this gallons as well. I wasn't counting how many groups, just subtracting off gallons. Okay. Coming back here then, we'll go on to number 5. The Basserier family is driving from home to a friend's house, and Emily and Josh are restless. They ask, "How far do we have to go?" Their father replies that they have gone 12 miles and they are now 3/4 of the way there. What is the distance from home to the friend's house? So again, my miles makes me think of number lines there. Those work nicely. And I want 3/4 of the way, or 3/4 of the trip. What's the trip? I don't know. So we are trying to find out what's the distance of one trip. That sounds like a division problem. How many in one group? But let's look down at our picture. Here I have on the top, miles. On the bottom, trips. I know that one trip, I'm trying to figure out how many miles. I know something about 3/4 of a trip. 3/4 of a trip is 12 miles. This is the same as the pictures I was drawing for our how many units in one group. How many in one group. So let's go ahead and write that out then. This is 12 miles, 3/4 of a trip gives, if we do division, that'll give me miles in one trip. If that confuses you, you might do a unit analysis. You're trying to figure out how many miles per trip. Well, I can turn a fraction situation into division. Miles over trip is miles divided by trips. Just fill in my numbers, and there's my problem, and I'll end up with miles per trip as the units for my answer. All right, on to the next one. Number 6, our last one. Carla has 3/4 of an acre of land for her garden. She has divided this garden into 12 equal regions. What is the size of each region? So what is the size of each region? What is the size of one region? How many in one group is what this is sounding like here. We have 3/4 of an acre, 12 regions. We don't have a unit match, so it's not going to be addition or subtraction there. So let's go down and look at our picture. So I started with drawing her garden. I always go with rectangles. There's the garden. That's 3/4 of an acre. And then I divided it into 12 equal regions. So I made a grid, 12 equal regions. And the question is, what is the value of one region? How many in one group? And the problem even says divided, right? Which is a good clue. So how many units in one group? 3/4 of an acre divided into 12 region will give me acres in one region. Again, I can look at the units. Acres in one region is acres per region, and it can turn that into division, acres divided by regions, and then just fill in my numbers. So like I said, none of this is new. These are all types of problems that we've been working with before. It's just that they're mixed and you're practicing your skills. So on your own, on your paper, or in your head, you'll be thinking about, how would I explain this to my classmate who doesn't know how to do it? Oh, I could do a quick sketch and then talk through the sketch, or I could analyze the words and then talk through the words. So we're getting at, how do you know which operation to use? The formative learning assignment literally just tests you on if you got the operation correct, but please be thinking about, how do I know, rather than just guessing.